Hey guys, Ross May McAllister Racing here. Today we're going to go over a little of the details of how to mount a Fairbury body. How guys have had good luck and where they end up putting it and what they like to do with it. Got a little racing going on in the trailer here. My workbench is pretty messed up. I just got this brand new 2021 GFRP Assailant built, and that's what we're going to mount it on. Just watched my guy Sheldon Hodenshield put a whooping on the NOS Energy Drink Sprint cars, and now Justin Grant's leading the midgets. So we'll get started here, and I'll go through the steps that I like to do to start mounting a body. Go through step number one. First thing you're going to do, obviously, I don't have to. I pull it off the shelf. You guys are going to open this up out of the bag. Check out everything you got. You get 10 screws, 10 nuts. That's the hardware you're going to need for the decking kit. I like to run this body decked. Certain places have rules to run it undecked. But we'll go through the mounting and cutting out the windows and all the different stuff we like to look at there. Second thing you're going to get is a standard spoiler. It comes with 2 side panels, another 10 and 10 of screws and nuts for mounting it, and it is pre-bent on the part that's going to mount on the back of the car. So all pre-cut holes, ready to go. Got a couple tabs on the top and there so you can bend it on some wicker bills if you wanted it, or trim it down. That's your standard spoiler. You're going to have your pre-cut window masks here. Look at that, the Fairbury Late Model, number 323. So pre-cut window masks, all ready to go. We use really nice masking materials. So, and the last, oh no, 2 more things. This is the deck template. So traced out on there is the shape of the body. If you trim that out the way it says to in the next thing we're going to talk about, you should be pretty well set up and good to go. And the last thing, the instructions. Gives you a couple tips and tricks here. These are posted on our website under pictures for this body. So if you do ever lose them or decide to throw them away like Tim Allen, go ho 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 and then need them later, you can pull these up on the website and double check it out. So first thing I like to do, other than that, get all your parts out, evaluate what you got, read your tips and tricks. I like to trim the body right along the very bottom edge. There's no reason to try and trim where you're actually going to trim and have all this stuff hanging off. So that's what I'm going to do. See you in a minute. Okay, got that most of the way done, all trimmed out. Make sure you leave enough material for wherever you're going to trim later. Just get rid of the bulk of it and the tabs hanging off the bottom. If you look at the back of this, I hold the camera straight, it is slanted. We designed it that way. I'm going to turn this TV down a little bit. My guy Justin Grant did win. So look at that, Tanner Thorson, Chili Bowl champ talking. Got second. So it is slanted. It is designed to be mounted higher on the left than the right. So if you hear somebody say they tried another body back to back and didn't work, well, you didn't mount it right. You didn't do it the way it was designed to be done, and you're not following the way that it should be, and you're not going to get all of the perks out of the body that you should be. So that's what it looks like. The very next thing I like to do after doing that, before you get too crazy, I want to take my car that I'm going to mount it on, and I'm going to get it at ride height. So I'm going to put a battery in it, motor, whatever it takes to get it at the right ride height. You got to set all your cambers. Set your cambers. Now, make sure whichever setup you're going to go with, this car, most Custom Works cars, these have the axles that have the adjustable, the 3mm spacer option. If you're ever going to run that, put it on now, because you want to space that to where you're going to be. If you're ever going to run wider hexes, you know, set that to where your standard is, and we'll kind of go from there, so that you know when you set the car up and mount it on there, and you go to make adjustments later on, you don't have big changes that are going to have your tire rubbing somewhere. Like on a Custom Works car or different brands, if you have the adjustable options to move your kick-ups in or out, make sure that you have those spaced out, or just know that wherever you mounted it, it will not go out without causing you an issue in a tire rub. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get this thing set on top of here and start marking some holes. I'll show you how I like to do that next. Okay, I know I do not have motor, battery, electronics, any of that stuff in this car, but I do have the ride height set where I want them. I have the camber set where I want them. That's where it's going to be when it would be ran. And make sure all your body posts are on there. Next thing you want to do is take your body and set it on, and we'll find some locations. All right, get my nice bright shirt shining off the reflection here. Like we talked about earlier, you want to make sure your body posts are also lower on the right side than the left side. That's going to give you the deck rake looking like a real late model. Speaking of, we're about to watch some at East Bay here. Just talking to Hudson O'Neill. We got all kinds of racing going on here in the trailer tonight. So let's see, who's starting on the pole? Brandon Shepard maybe tonight? Figure it out. Next thing we want to do, once you get it on there, you get your body posts somewhat similar to where you want them. You don't want to have these things this high in the front because obviously you're not going to be able to see where you want to be. So what I like to do is I like to set this body off of the right front. So get your right front where you think the wheel well is going to line up, where you think it's going to look good. I'm a little further forward there than I like to be. I like to leave a 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch right here. Going to be right here. We'll trim this down here on the front, on the bottom edge, all the way along the car once we get closer to being where we want to be. So I like to set, like I said, leave enough gap around there, mount it high enough so you're not going to be getting into the fender. There's plenty of clearance on this body, so if you're doing that, you're doing something wrong. Then you want to make sure that this is pushed all the way up against that tire. When you look straight down on the body, it has a little cut in right here behind where the nose would be on a real late model. And the backside of the tire should stick out a little bit. Gives it that realistic look. And this body has plenty of steering. The nose is dished. It works really well the way it is, so you don't have to have this thing jacked clear over to the right and digging the nose in the dirt when you go in the corner. On the right rear, once I get the front similar to where I want it and kind of front to back on the body, I want to take the right rear, and you can see where the deck material is going to go and meet with the door or the fender here. And I like to look straight down on that corner right here and line that up with the tire, the edge of the right rear tire, or just a little to the right. You can see right there about a 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch to the right. The looser the track you're going to run on, you'd want to mount it a little bit to the left. The more grip you run on, you can mount it a little bit to the right. What that's going to do is it's going to free the car up by putting a little more weight on the right rear of the car. So you just take your pick. This might be something where on your first one you might have to make a couple holes to figure out where you like it. But you do not want to have this thing with this much 1.5 inch outside the tire over here on the right side and the left side sticking out. So you just want to make sure. That's how I always set all mine up. I like to split it maybe 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch with this 90-degree bend here right on the corner. You can see right down on there. It's a really good view just to the right of the tire, right about like that. So we'll get it set on there and we'll get poke some holes and show you what it looks like from there. We're back. I got my holes poked. We're sitting on there pretty good. I'm not quite down all the way on this side where it needs to be because my nose is too long. My body's still hanging too long. There's no way I'm gonna run this much nose up here. So, you know, I've been running about a 1/4 inch or maybe 3/8. So we're gonna do a little trimming on the front of this. And I'll show you a couple of my tips and tricks there. One thing I didn't go over earlier I wanted to touch on. I said cambers and ride heights and have all of that and your spacing on the front to make sure where you're gonna be for a maximum. The rear end, you need to have your toe set similar to where you're gonna start. Not necessarily where you're gonna end up, but give you a good starting point to where you can check your body spacing there, so when you do actually mount it. So I'm gonna turn this a little bit. Maybe not. I'll show you how I do it here. I like to get a nice flat surface. I got a big old piece of Delrin here. And I take my Sharpie. They make, a couple of people make fancy tools. You can set this in. To start with, I'm just gonna take this Sharpie and run right along the ground. And that's gonna tell me at least where I need to start cutting, and then I can get the body laid down to where I actually want it, and then we can do the final trimming later. So for now, I got holes poked in it. I got it set on the way I want. When I get done, the rear of the right front tire is going to be sticking out of the door a little bit. That's where I want. The right rear tire, just like I said, is right there, about a 1/4 inch from the edge of the door here, looking straight down on it. So you can see that door there, where you want to be. Take a look, and I'll be back. All right, we're making headway here. Watching the late model racing. They go to the hot pit, so you got a little time to work. On this assailant, we have 6 body posts, which is really nice. Gives you support for the front fenders here. A lot of guys crack their bodies here that don't have that. And even if you have the supports that are underneath, that doesn't keep the body from buckling up and bending up. So you still have buckle here in the corner. The middle posts are really great for that, to hold the whole thing together. And I realize it's 2 more body clips that you're going to lose and drop on the ground, but the end result is a lot longer lasting body and less flopping going down the track. Last thing you want to check out, once you have all these marked, you have your body post set pretty much where you want for your heights. Of course, the deck height rule, we'll have to go back and check that. I set the left rear post, the highest post, with my deck height gauge should be right around 4. I may have to go up or down a hair, depending on where it ends up. But you want to make sure that you have all of these solid contact. You don't want one that has a whole bunch of play in it. Then you know you have the body mounted correctly, and you're not going to have play in it when you get done. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to mark my wheel wells, and I'll show you how I go do about that here in just a minute. Okay, got this all set up. I like to take my angle right from the side, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to mark where my axle is, and then I'm going to go ahead and push down on the body so that you can see when you go in the corner. And I'm going to make another mark where my axle is at that point. And I'm going to draw a line between the two. Make a couple dots here, draw a skinny line between the two. And somewhere in the middle of there is where I'm going to mark the center of my wheel, probably towards the top one. So make sure that you have wheel clearance all the way around, no matter how far your tire goes up in there. Basically so that your chassis can hit the ground and your body never will. You'll still have clearance up here. So I'll get that done and I'll be back. All right, back here in the secret headquarters. The late model race is over. We're back to work. I marked my wheel wells like I showed you. I got towards the top of it, and I have this tool. You can buy them at a lot of craft stores or online. This is a Olfa, and it has a razor blade on one end and a pointer on the other. And you can set that right in the middle of your mark that you made. And I have a little mark on here that shows the diameter of a tire. The other way that you can do that is to set this on a tire that's not on a car and mark it up. Whether you're doing short course or buggy, this has the adjustability for all of it. It comes with a couple extra razor blades. I've been using this thing for a couple of years, so lets you mark right where you want to be. Gives you nice round wheel wells. I used to cut it with this. I used to score the Lexan and tear it. Now I just mark it, and then I trim it with the scissors. So it gives you nice round wheel wells. The main thing you want to look at when you go to do this, I am not done yet. I will trim the back corner of this a little bit to make sure that when my body comes down, my chassis comes down, I'm pushing on the body post here. You can push up here. If I wasn't on the phone, I'd push on the back corner and the front corner here and bring the chassis down with the body on it and make sure that this is not going to rub. So I will have a little bit of a out around here to where the actual kick up of the car will work and go up inside of there. So that's done. When I get done with that, I traced a line with a straight edge. The other thing you can do if you don't have that is get some painter's tape. Start on one end and lay it flat all the way to the other. You can trim along that. Painter's tape comes right back off. Really nice. Doesn't peel up our film. It's good stuff. And when you get done with that, you want to make sure that you trim all your edges so that you don't hurt any marshals or yourself when you're working on your car. So I will do that on the other side, and then we will get into doing the trimming of the windows and mounting the deck. All right, got all that done. Wheel wells are all trimmed up. Let's see what the other side looks like, how it turned out. One-handed here. Trimmed up the way I want. Got it all flat along the bottom. The way I like to do it, the way the real cars are doing it, they did a bunch of aero testing. You don't need a whole bunch of panel over here. Just because there is panel that goes all the way to the ground, you don't want that. Once the air is underneath the car, you want to let it out. On the right side, you want as much panel as possible. The opposite side of the car we're looking at now, you want as much panel as possible. So when you go into the corner and turn, that panel is pushing the air. That's side force. Equally as important as down force, pushes on the car, keeps you from sliding. So you want as much panel over there as you can. When your air is underneath the car, already been underneath the nose, underneath the side, you want it to get back out freely. So trim this up a little bit. I got a pretty good sizable gap here. And then at the back, I really bring it up like this, just like the real late models do. I have not trimmed the back yet. Once I get the spoiler on, I'll get that done. I got the nose trimmed up along here, a little more panel on this side than the other side. As I talked about earlier, get this all flat along the front. I did my Sharpie trick where I laid it on the counter again and went all the way around. Make sure you got a flat surface, nice setup board, whatever you're working with. So like I said, when we got done, straighten my wheels out here and get my car at ride height. The right front tire is sticking out a little bit, just at the back. That's the way I want it, that's the way I like it. When you go in the corner, it doesn't affect you at all. Looks really good on the car. And I got the rear centered like we talked about. Set it off this right rear door here where the bend down is. After this, I'm going to take the windows out, and what I will do for that is I'll take a reamer and I will poke a hole right in the middle of the window. I'll trim around the edge, maybe 1/4 of an inch from the window line where I'm actually going to be, get rid of the bulk of that material and leave that last little time you cut around really easy to do without a whole bunch of material trying to fight you. That's the easiest way to do it. The front and rear windows must come out, and if you're going to deck it, the side windows cannot. DODC, thedirtoval.com rules and regulations require you to leave the side windows in. Only the front and rear windows will come out. So follow the cut lines, front and rear, and I'll be back in a bit.